coffee mug slipped from my hands and shattered against the kitchen floor, ceramic pieces scattering like fragments of my marriage. Sarah stood in the doorway, still wearing her business suit from another late night at the office. But something was different. Her eyes held a cold determination I'd never seen before, and her mouth was set in a line that meant she'd already made up her mind about something. "We need to talk, Dave," she said, not bothering to help me clean up the mess. That should have been my first warning. The Sarah I married 13 years ago would have rushed to help, would have made jokes about my clumsy hands. This Sarah just stood there, watching me pick up the pieces. I grabbed the paper towels and started soaking up the coffee, buying myself time to process whatever bomb she was about to drop. "Okay, let's talk. How was your day?" "Don't." Her voice cut through the kitchen like a blade. "Don't pretend this is a normal conversation. We both know it's not." I straightened up, holding the soggy towels, and really looked at her for the first time in months. When had she become so thin? When had those lines appeared around her eyes? When had she started looking at me like I was a stranger in my own home? "Sarah, what's going on?" She walked to the kitchen island and placed her hands flat on the granite surface we'd picked out together 5 years ago. Her wedding ring caught the light, and I found myself staring at it, wondering if this would be the last time I'd see it on her finger. "I can't do this anymore, Dave. I can't pretend that we're happy, that this marriage is working, that I'm satisfied with this life." Her words came out in a rush, like she'd been practicing them. "I've met someone else." The paper towels dropped from my hands. "What?" "His name is Richard Blackwood. He's my boss at the firm, and he understands me in ways you never have. He sees my potential, supports my ambitions, treats me like an equal partner instead of just a wife who happens to work." I felt like I was drowning in my own kitchen. "Sarah, we can work through this. Marriage counseling, a vacation, whatever you need." "No." She shook her head, and I saw something that made my blood run cold. Relief. She looked relieved to finally be saying this. "It's too late for that. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm going on a business trip with Richard this weekend. We're going to discuss our future together." "Business trip?" I laughed, but it came out bitter and broken. "Is that what we're calling it?" For the first time, she had the decency to look ashamed, but it passed quickly, replaced by that cold determination again. "Call it whatever you want. The truth is, Richard can give me the life I deserve. He's successful, powerful, wealthy. He doesn't come home covered in grease from working on cars all day." That hit like a physical blow. I'd been a mechanic for 15 years, had built my own successful auto repair shop from nothing. It was honest work, good work, and it had paid for this house, her car, the life she was now calling inadequate. "I see." My voice sounded strange, distant. "And how long has this been going on?" 3 months? She didn't even try to lie. "It started during the Morrison account negotiations. We were working late, and one thing led to another." 3 months. Well, I'd been wondering why she was so distant, why she never wanted to talk anymore, why she flinched when I touched her. She'd been planning my replacement. "What about us? What about 13 years of marriage?" Sarah's expression softened for just a moment, and I saw a flicker of the woman I'd fallen in love with. "We were good together, Dave, for a while, but we've grown apart. We want different things now." "I want the same things I've always wanted. You, a family, a life together. And I want more." The softness vanished. "I want someone who challenges me intellectually, who moves in the same circles I do, who can open doors for my career. Richard is a partner at one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. He has connections, influence, money." "Money?" I repeated the word like it tasted bad. "So, this is about money. It's about potential. It's about building a life that matters, not just existing in suburban mediocrity." I stared at her, this woman I'd loved for over a decade, and realized I was looking at a stranger. "When did you become so cold?" "When I realized I was wasting my life." She pulled her suitcase from behind the door, already packed. "I'm staying at Richard's place tonight. I'll be back Sunday to get more of my things." "Just like that?" "Just like that." She wheeled her suitcase toward the door, then paused. "Dave, I know this hurts, but in time you'll understand. We weren't right for each other. We were just comfortable." After she left, I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by broken ceramic and the ruins of my marriage. The house felt enormous and empty, like a museum of a life that had suddenly become history. I picked up the largest piece of the coffee mug, a fragment with part of the handle still attached. It was from our honeymoon in Colorado, bought from a little shop in Aspen where we'd laughed about how expensive everything was. I threw it in the trash and started cleaning up the rest of the mess. 3 days passed in a blur of silence and takeout containers. I'd called in sick to the shop, something I hadn't done in years, and spent most of my time sitting in my recliner, staring at the TV without really watching it. The house felt like a tomb, every room filled with memories of Sarah and the life we'd built together. My phone buzzed constantly with texts from friends asking where we'd been, why we'd missed dinner at the Hendersons, whether everything was okay. I ignored them all. How do you explain that your wife of 13 years has decided you're not good enough anymore? How do you admit that while you were planning your future together, she was planning her escape? On Thursday morning, I forced myself to shower and go to work. My guys at the shop, Tommy and Marcus, took one look at me and knew something was wrong, but they had the decency not to pry. We worked on a transmission rebuild in relative silence, the familiar rhythm of tools and engines providing a temporary distraction from the chaos in my head. It was around noon when my phone rang. Sarah's number flashed on the screen, and for a moment, my heart jumped. Maybe she'd changed her mind. Maybe this whole nightmare was just a temporary insanity brought on by stress at work. Hello? Dave? Her voice was small, shaky, nothing like the confident woman who'd walked out 3 days ago. I need to come home. I set down my wrench carefully, my hands suddenly unsteady. What happened? It was a mistake, all of it. Richard, the trip, everything. She was crying now, soft sobs that made my chest ache. He's not who I thought he was. He used me, Dave. He made me feel like I was special, like I mattered to him, but I was just another conquest. Where are you? At the airport. He left me at the hotel this morning. Said he'd had his fun, but his wife would be suspicious if he stayed away too long. His wife, Dave, he's married. He's been married for 20 years, and I was just his latest side piece. I closed my eyes, feeling a mixture of pain for her and anger at the situation. Come home. We'll figure this out. Really? After everything I said, everything I did to you? Just come home, Sarah. 2 hours later, I heard her key in the lock. She walked through the front door like a ghost of herself, her expensive business clothes wrinkled, her makeup smeared, her confidence completely shattered. She dropped her suitcase by the door and looked at me with eyes full of regret and shame. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I wanted to hold her. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to comfort her, to tell her it would be okay, that we could rebuild what we'd lost. But something held me back. Maybe it was self-preservation. Maybe it was the memory of how easily she'd dismissed our 13 years together. Maybe it was the realization that she hadn't come back because she loved me, but because her other option had fallen through. How did it feel? I asked quietly. She flinched. What? How did it feel to be disposable? To be wanted only when it suited him? Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Awful. It felt awful. That's how I felt Tuesday night, when you told me I wasn't good enough for the life you wanted. She reached for my hand, a gesture that had once been as natural as breathing. I stepped back. I know you came here for comfort, I said, walking to the kitchen table where I'd placed a manila folder. But what I want most right now is for you to understand what you threw away. Dave, please. I made a mistake. A terrible, stupid mistake. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over, pretend this never happened. I opened the folder and pulled out the papers I'd picked up that morning. I'm filing for divorce. Not because I hate you, because you made your choice, and I'm done living as the backup plan. Her face went white. You can't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. But I love you. I've always loved you. I just got confused, caught up in the excitement of something new. Richard made me feel important, powerful. He showed me a different world, and I thought I wanted it. But I was wrong. You love me? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You loved the idea of having me as a safety net. You loved knowing that no matter how badly you treated me, no matter how clearly you showed me I wasn't enough, I'd still be here waiting when your better option didn't work out. That's not true, isn't it? You spent 3 months planning to leave me. 3 months lying to my face, sleeping in our bed while you were sleeping with him, making me feel like I was going crazy for thinking something was wrong. And the only reason you're here now is because he threw you away first. Sarah sank into one of the kitchen chairs, her hands covering her face. I know how it looks, but that's not how it was. I was scared, confused. I thought I wanted something different, but I realized that what we have is special. What we have is real. What we had was real, I corrected. Past tense. You killed it Tuesday night when you told me I wasn't good enough for your new life. Dave, please. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll quit my job. We can move somewhere new. Start fresh. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you." I looked at this woman I'd loved for so long, this woman who'd been my best friend, my partner, my everything, and felt nothing but exhaustion. "The problem isn't what you did, Sarah. It's what you showed me about who you really are. You showed me that 13 years of marriage, of building a life together, of supporting each other through everything, meant less to you than the possibility of a bigger house and a more impressive husband. I was selfish. I was stupid. But people make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. You chose to have an affair. You chose to plan a future with another man. You chose to tell me I wasn't enough. And now you're choosing to come back here because your first choice didn't work out." I slid the divorce papers across the table. "I'm choosing to respect myself enough to walk away." She stared at the papers like they were a death sentence. "What about our friends? Our life together? What about the house? Our friends will choose sides. Our life together is over. And you can have the house. I'll find somewhere else to live. I don't want the house without you in it. You should have thought about that before you decided I wasn't worth keeping." Sarah stood up slowly, her movements shaky and uncertain. "Is there anything I can say? Anything I can do?" I met her eyes. These eyes I'd looked into on our wedding day. These eyes that had once looked at me with love and now only held desperation. "You can sign the papers and let us both move on with our lives. And if I don't, then I'll have them served to you at work, and this gets a lot more public and a lot more messy." She nodded slowly, understanding that this wasn't a negotiation. "Will you give me some time to find a place to stay?" "You can have the house, Sarah. I meant that. I'll pack my things and go." "Where will you go?" "That's not your concern anymore." She picked up the papers with trembling hands. "I really did love you, Dave. I still do." "I know," I said, and I meant it. "But love wasn't enough to keep you from leaving, and it's not enough to make me take you back." Word travels fast in a small town, especially when it involves the kind of scandal that gives people something to talk about over their morning coffee. By the end of the week, everyone knew that Sarah McAllister had left her mechanic husband for a rich lawyer, only to come crawling back when things didn't work out. The reactions were exactly what I'd expected, and exactly what I dreaded. The first call came from Sarah's sister, Jennifer, on Friday evening. I was packing my clothes into boxes, trying to figure out how to fit 13 years of life into a one-bedroom apartment above Mike's Pizza on Main Street. "Dave, it's Jen. I just heard about you and Sarah." Jennifer had never liked me. From the moment Sarah brought me home to meet the family, she'd made it clear that she thought her sister could do better. She was a real estate agent who drove a BMW and lived in a house that cost more than I made in 3 years. She'd married a doctor and spent most family gatherings talking about their vacations to Europe and their kids' private school achievements. "Hey, Jen, yeah, it's been a rough week. I have to say, I'm disappointed in you." I stopped folding shirts and sat down on the bed. "Disappointed in me?" "Sarah made a mistake. A big one, I'll grant you that. But marriage is about forgiveness, Dave. It's about working through problems together, not running away the moment things get difficult." "Running away?" I couldn't keep the anger out of my voice. "She's the one who left, Jen. She's the one who decided our marriage wasn't good enough. She came back, didn't she? She realized her mistake and came back to you, ready to work things out. And what do? You throw divorce papers at her like she's some kind of criminal. She had an affair, for 3 months, with her married boss. She told me to my face that I wasn't good enough for the life she wanted." People say things they don't mean when they're confused and scared. Sarah was going through a midlife crisis, exploring her options. "It doesn't mean she stopped loving you." I laughed bitterly. "Exploring her options. Is that what we're calling it? You're being vindictive, Dave. You're punishing her for being honest about her feelings instead of appreciating that she chose to come back to you. She didn't choose to come back to me. She got dumped and needed a place to land. That's not how she tells it. How does she tell it?" Jennifer's voice took on the self-righteous tone she used when she thought she was educating someone beneath her station. "She says she realized that what you two have is special, that Richard was just a fantasy, but you're real, you're solid, you're the man she wants to build a life with." "Solid," I repeated, "like a piece of furniture. Reliable old Dave, always there when you need him. There's nothing wrong with being dependable. There's everything wrong with being taken for granted. Sarah doesn't take you for granted. She appreciates you. She just got swept up in the excitement of something new and different. It happens to a lot of women our age. Does it happen to you, Jen? Do you go around having affairs with your clients because your husband isn't exciting enough?" The line went quiet for a moment. "That's different." "How?" "Michael and I have a different kind of marriage. We're partners in every sense of the word. We challenge each other, support each other's ambitions, grow together. And Sarah and I don't? Honestly, no. You've been doing the same job for 15 years, living in the same house, following the same routines. Sarah is ambitious, intelligent, driven. She needs someone who can match her energy, someone who can open doors for her. Someone with more money. Money isn't everything, but financial security matters. So does social status, professional connections, intellectual compatibility. Sarah is a lawyer, Dave. She moves in circles where people discuss politics, literature, art. What do you talk about? Carburetors. I felt like I'd been slapped. I see. So I'm not good enough for her either. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Jennifer's voice softened, taking on the patronizing tone she probably used with her children. Dave, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to help you understand Sarah's perspective. She loves you, but she needs more than you can give her. Richard could have provided that, but he turned out to be a disappointment. That doesn't mean she should settle for less than she deserves. And what do I deserve? You deserve someone who appreciates the life you can provide, someone who's content with simplicity, who doesn't need the finer things in life to be happy. Sarah isn't that person. No, I said quietly. She's not. So maybe this divorce is for the best. Maybe you both need to find people who are better suited to your different lifestyles. Maybe we do. After I hung up, I sat in my empty bedroom, surrounded by boxes and the remnants of my marriage, and realized that Jennifer had inadvertently given me a gift. She'd shown me exactly how Sarah's family saw me, how they'd probably always seen me. I wasn't a husband who'd been betrayed. I was an obstacle to Sarah's happiness. I wasn't a man whose wife had cheated on him. I was a small-town mechanic who'd been lucky to have a woman like Sarah for as long as I did. The second call came on Saturday morning from our mutual friend, Lisa Henderson. Lisa and her husband Tom had been our closest friends for almost a decade. We'd spent countless weekends at each other's houses, gone on vacation together, celebrated holidays as an extended family. Dave, Tom, and I heard about what happened. We're so sorry. Thanks, Lisa. It's been a tough week. We can't believe Sarah would do something like this. It's so unlike her. Is it? What do you mean? I thought about the question carefully. Was it really unlike Sarah? Or had I just been willfully blind to the signs? I think maybe I didn't know her as well as I thought I did. People make mistakes, Dave. Even good people sometimes do stupid things. The important thing is that she realized her mistake and came back to you. She came back because her affair didn't work out the way she planned. Does it matter why she came back? What matters is that she's there, ready to fight for your marriage. She's not fighting for our marriage, Lisa. She's fighting to avoid the consequences of her choices. That's a pretty cynical way to look at it. It's a realistic way to look at it. Lisa was quiet for a moment, then her voice took on a careful, measured tone. Dave, I'm going to say something, and I want you to know it comes from a place of love. Okay. Sometimes when marriages fall apart, both people bear some responsibility. I'm not saying what Sarah did was right, but maybe there were problems in your relationship that made her vulnerable to someone like Richard. Such as? Well, you and Sarah have always seemed like you were in different places in life. She's very career-focused, very social, very driven, and you're more content with the status quo. Content with the status quo. I don't mean that as an insult. There's nothing wrong with being satisfied with your life. But Sarah has always been someone who needs constant growth, new challenges, new experiences. Maybe she felt stifled. So she had an affair. So she made a bad decision when she was feeling trapped and unfulfilled. And that's my fault? It's not about fault, Dave. It's about understanding. If you can understand why Sarah did what she did, maybe you can work together to fix the problems in your marriage. The problem in our marriage is that my wife decided I wasn't good enough and started sleeping with her boss. The problem in your marriage is that you two stopped communicating, stopped growing together, stopped meeting each other's needs. I felt a familiar anger rising in my chest. What needs wasn't I meeting? Dave, when was the last time you and Sarah went somewhere nice for dinner? When was the last time you planned a surprise for her, or took her on a real vacation, or showed interest in her work? I showed interest in her work every day. I asked about her cases, listened to her talk about office politics, supported her when she was stressed. But did you understand it? Could you contribute to those conversations in a meaningful way? Could you offer insights, make connections, help her think through complex legal strategies? No, but Richard could. Richard speaks her language, moves in her world, understands the pressures she faces. Richard is married. Richard is also successful, sophisticated, intellectually stimulating. I'm not defending what he did, but I can understand why Sarah was attracted to him. So can I. He's rich. It's not about money, Dave. It's about compatibility. It's about finding someone who challenges you, who makes you want to be better. And I don't do that for Sarah. Do you? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Did I challenge Sarah? Did I make her want to be better? Or was I exactly what Jennifer had said, solid, dependable, reliable old Dave, who was always there but never particularly inspiring? I love her, I said finally. I know you do. And she loves you, but sometimes love isn't enough. Then what is? Effort, growth, willingness to change. Sarah is willing to try, Dave. She's ready to work on your marriage, to rebuild what you had. The question is whether you're willing to meet her halfway. What does that look like? Counseling, communication, maybe some changes in your lifestyle, your social circle, your ambitions. Sarah needs a partner who can grow with her, who won't hold her back. Hold her back from what? From becoming the person she's meant to be? After I hung up with Lisa, I sat in my kitchen, drinking coffee and staring at the divorce papers Sarah still hadn't signed. 2 conversations, 2 friends, same message. Sarah's affair was understandable, maybe even inevitable, given how incompatible we were. The real question wasn't whether she'd betrayed me, but whether I was willing to change everything about myself to become the man she needed. The answer was simple. I wasn't. Sunday afternoon brought the gathering I'd been dreading all week. Lisa had organized what she called a support intervention at her house, inviting our entire friend group to help Sarah and me work through our problems. I'd tried to decline, but she'd been insistent, and I'd finally agreed to go, knowing that avoiding the conversation would only make things worse. Sarah arrived at the same time I did, and we walked up to the Hendersons' front door together in awkward silence. She'd clearly spent time preparing for this. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup carefully applied, her outfit chosen to project both vulnerability and determination. She looked beautiful, and for a moment, I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her all those years ago. "Dave," she said softly as we reached the porch, "I'm glad you came." Lisa didn't give me much choice. "I know this is hard for you. It's hard for me too. But maybe if we talk to our friends, get some outside perspective, we can find a way forward." Forward to what? To forgiveness? To healing? To rebuilding what we lost? I looked at her, this woman I'd shared my life with for 13 years, and felt nothing but exhaustion. "Sarah, we didn't lose what we had. You threw it away." "I made a mistake." "You made a choice. Stop calling it a mistake." Lisa opened the door before Sarah could respond, enveloping us both in enthusiastic hugs and ushering us into the living room where our friends were gathered. Tom Henderson sat in his usual recliner, looking uncomfortable with the whole situation. Mark and Carol Williams were on the couch, holding hands in a show of marital solidarity. Jennifer had driven down from the city, and she sat primly in a chair by the window, already looking like she was prepared to deliver a lecture. "Okay," Lisa said, settling into her hostess role. "I think we all know why we're here. Dave and Sarah are going through a rough patch, and they need their friends to help them work through it." "It's not a rough patch," I said. "It's a divorce." "It doesn't have to be," Sarah said quickly. "That's why we're here, to see if there's a way to save our marriage." Mark leaned forward, his expression serious. "Dave, I have to ask, are you sure you want to throw away 13 years over one mistake?" "One mistake?" I couldn't keep the incredulity out of my voice. "She had an affair for 3 months. She planned to leave me for another man. She told me to my face that I wasn't good enough for the life she wanted." "She came back," Carol said gently. "That has to count for something." "She came back because her affair didn't work out." "She came back because she realized what was really important," Jennifer corrected. "She chose you, Dave. She chose your marriage. She chose me as a consolation prize." "That's not true," Sarah said, her voice breaking slightly. "I came back because I realized that what we have is real. Richard was a fantasy, a midlife crisis, a moment of temporary insanity. But you're my husband. You're the man I want to spend my life with." Tom cleared his throat. "Sarah, I have to ask, why did you start the affair in the first place? What was missing in your marriage that made you vulnerable to this guy?" Sarah glanced at me, then looked down at her hands. I felt stagnant, like my life had become routine, predictable. Dave is a wonderful man, but we'd fallen into patterns that felt more like roommates than husband and wife. "What kind of patterns?" Lisa asked. "Work, dinner, television, bed, same conversations, same routines, same everything. I felt like I was disappearing, like I was becoming this suburban housewife who'd given up her dreams for domestic stability." "What dreams?" I asked. Sarah looked surprised that I'd spoken. I wanted to travel, to experience new things, to meet interesting people. I wanted intellectual stimulation, cultural experiences, a chance to grow as a person. I never stopped you from doing any of those things. You never encouraged them either. When I suggested we take a trip to Europe, you said it was too expensive. When I wanted to join the museum board, you said it would take too much time away from our marriage. When I talked about going back to school for my master's degree, you worried about the debt. I was being practical. You were being limiting. Mark nodded thoughtfully. It sounds like you two had different visions for your life together. We did, Sarah agreed. Richard offered me a different vision. He talked about traveling together, about the places he'd been and the things he'd seen. He understood my ambitions, supported my goals. He made me feel like I could be more than I was. He made you feel like I was holding you back, I said. Weren't you? The question hit like a physical blow. I looked around the room at our friends, these people who were supposed to be helping us reconcile, and saw them all nodding and understanding. Even Tom, my closest male friend, looked like he thought Sarah had a point. So this is my fault, I said. Sarah has an affair, abandons our marriage, tells me I'm not good enough, and it's my fault because I didn't encourage her to join the museum board. It's not about fault, Carol said. It's about understanding why your marriage got to this point. My marriage got to this point because my wife decided she wanted a richer husband. That's not fair, Jennifer snapped. Sarah doesn't care about money. She cares about growth, about possibility, about building a life that has meaning. And our life didn't have meaning? Did it? Sarah asked. Really, Dave, what did we do besides work and watch TV? When was the last time we had a conversation about something important? When was the last time we challenged each other, learned something new together, grew as people? When was the last time you tried to have those conversations with me instead of with your boss? I did try. For years I tried, but you weren't interested. You were content with things the way they were, and you couldn't understand why I wasn't. Lisa leaned forward, her expression earnest. Dave, what Sarah is saying is that she felt unfulfilled in your marriage. Instead of talking to you about it, she made the terrible mistake of looking for fulfillment elsewhere. But now she's here, ready to communicate, ready to work on building the kind of marriage you both want. The kind of marriage she wants, I corrected. The kind where I change everything about myself to become someone more interesting. Not everything, Sarah said quickly. Just some things. We could travel more, socialize with different people, explore new interests together. We could grow together instead of staying stuck in the same patterns. With what money? We could save for it, make it a priority. By giving up what? The house? The cars? My business? Maybe we don't need such a big house. Maybe we don't need 2 cars. Maybe you could consider a different career, something with more growth potential. I stared at her. You want me to give up my business? I want you to consider your options. You're smart, capable, hardworking. You could do anything you set your mind to. I like what I do. But do you love it? Does it fulfill you? Does it challenge you to be better? It pays our bills and gives me satisfaction. That used to be enough. It's not enough anymore. Mark cleared his throat again. Dave, I think what Sarah is asking for is pretty reasonable. Marriage is about compromise, about growing together. If she needs more intellectual stimulation, more cultural experiences, maybe you could find ways to provide that. By becoming someone I'm not. By becoming someone better, Jennifer said. By expanding your horizons, developing new interests, challenging yourself to grow. And if I don't want to grow in the direction Sarah thinks I should, then you're choosing to stay stuck, Carol said, and eventually she'll outgrow you completely. Like she already has. Like she almost did, Sarah corrected. But it's not too late, Dave. We can still save this. I looked around the room at these people I'd considered friends, these people who were supposed to support both of us, and realized they'd already chosen sides. In their minds, Sarah was the victim of an unfulfilling marriage, and I was the obstacle to her happiness. Her affair wasn't a betrayal, it was a wake-up call. Her abandonment wasn't cruelty, it was a cry for help. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, I said slowly. Sarah has an affair because I'm boring. She plans to leave me for a richer man because I'm not ambitious enough. She tells me I'm not good enough for the life she wants because I'm not sophisticated enough. And your advice is that I should change everything about myself to win her back. We're asking you to consider whether you love Sarah enough to work on becoming the husband she needs, Lisa said. And what about the husband I need her to be? What about loyalty, commitment, honesty? What about keeping the promises we made 13 years ago? Marriage isn't just about keeping promises, Tom said. It's about adapting to change, growing together, meeting each other's evolving needs. Sarah's needs evolved. Mine didn't. I still need the same things I needed 13 years ago. A wife who loves me, who's faithful to me, who doesn't look at me like I'm a disappointment. I don't look at you like you're a disappointment, Sarah said softly. Yes, you do. You have for months, maybe years. I just didn't want to see it. Dave, please. I know I hurt you, but we can fix this. We can build something better than what we had before. I stood up, suddenly unable to sit still in that room full of people who thought my pain was less important than Sarah's self-actualization. You know what, Sarah? You're right. We can build something better. You can build it with someone who shares your vision of what life should be, someone who wants to travel the world and join museum boards and have deep conversations about art and literature, someone who thinks what you did was understandable instead of unforgivable. Where are you going? Lisa asked. Home. To pack the rest of my things? Dave, wait, Sarah called, following me to the door. Please don't leave like this. Stay and talk to me. I turned to face her one last time. I've heard everything you have to say. You want a different life with a different kind of man. I hope you find him. I hope he makes you happy. I hope he never disappoints you the way I did. I don't want a different man. I want you. I want us. No, you don't. You want the idea of us. You want the security of marriage with the excitement of something new. You want me to transform into someone else while staying exactly the same. You want to have your cake and eat it too. That's not true. It is true. And the saddest part is that you don't even realize it. I walked out of that house and drove home through the quiet Sunday afternoon streets, past the places where Sarah and I had built our life together. The coffee shop where we'd had our first date, the church where we'd gotten married, the park where we'd talked about having children someday. All of it felt like ancient history now, like artifacts from someone else's life. At home, I finished packing my boxes and loaded them into my truck. The apartment above Mike's Pizza wasn't much, but it was mine. It was a place where I could start over, where I could figure out who I was without Sarah, without the constant feeling that I wasn't enough. As I was loading the last box, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. I love you. I'll always love you. Please don't give up on us. I deleted the message without responding and drove away from the house we'd shared, toward whatever came next. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was rebuilding my life piece by piece. The apartment above Mike's Pizza had become home, my business was thriving, and I'd even started dating again. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and casual dinners with women who seemed to appreciate my straightforward approach to life. I wasn't bitter anymore, just tired of being painted as the villain in Sarah's story. That's when Jennifer made her fatal mistake. It was a Thursday evening in late October when she walked into my shop just as I was closing up. She looked as polished as ever in her real estate blazer and designer heels, completely out of place among the oil stains and tool benches. Hello, Dave. Do you have a minute to talk? I wiped my hands on a rag and leaned against my workbench. What can I do for you, Jen? It's about Sarah. I figured. Jennifer walked closer, her expression a mixture of concern and condescension. She's not doing well, Dave. The divorce hit her harder than she expected. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because from what I hear, you've moved on pretty quickly. New apartment, new girlfriends, new life. Meanwhile, Sarah is struggling to put the pieces back together. What pieces? She got the house, half my retirement account, and alimony. She kept her job and her friends. What exactly is she struggling with? Guilt, regret, the knowledge that she threw away the best thing that ever happened to her. I almost laughed. 6 months ago, you told me she needed someone better than me, someone who could match her energy and open doors for her. What changed? Jennifer's mask of concern slipped slightly, revealing the anger underneath. What changed is that she's been trying to date again, and she's discovering that good men are hard to find. The men in her social circle are either married, divorced with baggage, or players like Richard who just want to use her. That's unfortunate. She's realized that what you two had was special, that loyalty and dependability matter more than excitement and sophistication. Loyalty, I repeated. Interesting choice of words. Dave, I'm going to be direct with you. Sarah wants you back. She's ready to do whatever it takes to rebuild your marriage. Our marriage is over, Jen. We're divorced. She made her choice. People can change their minds. You could too, if you weren't so stubborn and vindictive. Vindictive? Yes, vindictive. You're punishing Sarah for one mistake, refusing to forgive her even though she's genuinely sorry. You're being cruel, Dave. It's not attractive. Something in her tone, the casual way she dismissed Sarah's affair as one mistake, the implication that I was somehow wrong for not taking her back, triggered something I'd been keeping buried for months. You want to know what's not attractive, Jen? Having your wife's sister tell you that you're not good enough for her, having your friends explain that your wife's affair was understandable because you're boring, having everyone act like you're the problem because you won't change everything about yourself to accommodate someone who betrayed you. Sarah didn't betray you. She made a mistake. She had an affair for 3 months. She planned to leave me for another man. She told me to my face that I wasn't good enough for the life she wanted. What part of that isn't betrayal? Jennifer's expression hardened. The part where she came back to you, ready to work things out, and you threw it in her face. The part where she spent 6 months trying to apologize, and you won't even consider forgiveness. She came back because her affair didn't work out. So what? She still came back. She still chose you. She chose me as a backup plan. And you chose your pride over your marriage. That's when I decided Jennifer needed to learn what betrayal actually felt like. Over the next 2 weeks, I did something I'd never done before in my life. I used my skills for revenge instead of repair. You see, Jennifer had made a crucial error in judgment. She'd forgotten that I'd been fixing her cars for 8 years, that I had keys to her BMW, that I knew her schedule better than she did. I also knew something else about Jennifer that she'd probably forgotten telling me during a wine-fueled family barbecue 3 years earlier. She'd been having her own affair. With her daughter's soccer coach, a 28-year-old former college athlete named Tyler, who helped her stay in shape during private training sessions at the local gym. Jennifer thought she was being discreet, but small towns have big ears, and mechanics hear everything. I'd kept her secret because it wasn't my business and because I'd actually felt sorry for her. Her husband, Michael, was a cold, work-obsessed surgeon who treated her more like a business partner than a wife. But Jennifer had made it my business when she walked into my shop and called me vindictive for refusing to take back a cheating wife. The first phase of my plan was simple: documentation. I followed Jennifer to her training sessions with Tyler, photographed them leaving the gym together, tracked them to the little motel outside town where they conducted their business. I felt dirty doing it, but I told myself that Jennifer had brought this on herself. The second phase was more complex. I needed Jennifer to understand what it felt like to have your life destroyed by someone else's choices. I needed her to experience the humiliation, the betrayal, the casual dismissal of her pain that she'd inflicted on me. I started by making copies of the photographs and creating a simple timeline of Jennifer's affair. Dates, times, locations, everything a suspicious spouse would need to confirm their worst fears. Then I mailed the package to Dr. Michael Brennan at his office with a note that said simply, "Thought you should know." But I wasn't done. I also sent copies to Jennifer's real estate office, her country club, and her children's school. Not to humiliate her publicly, but to ensure that when the inevitable explosion happened, she wouldn't be able to control the narrative the way Sarah had tried to do with our divorce. The third phase was the most satisfying. I waited. It took exactly 4 days for Jennifer's world to implode. Michael filed for divorce on a Wednesday, froze their joint accounts on Thursday, and had her served with papers at her office on Friday. By the following Monday, everyone in town knew that the perfect Jennifer Brennan had been cheating on her surgeon husband with her daughter's soccer coach. The phone call came Tuesday evening. "You bastard!" Jennifer's voice was raw with rage and tears. "You destroyed my life." "I documented your choices," I said calmly. "Just like you documented mine when you decided I was vindictive for not forgiving a cheating wife. This is different." "How?" "Michael and I have been having problems for years. Our marriage was already over. Tyler just helped me realize it." "So you had an affair because your marriage was unfulfilling. Sound familiar?" "I never told Michael he wasn't good enough. I never humiliated him the way Sarah humiliated you." "No, you just lied to him for 2 years while you screwed around with a man half your age. Much classier." "You don't understand. Michael is cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. He cares more about his work than his family. Tyler makes me feel alive again." And Sarah felt stagnant and bored with me. Richard made her feel sophisticated and important. Same story, different details. It's not the same. It's exactly the same. You both decided your marriages weren't fulfilling enough, so you went looking for something better. The only difference is that Sarah came back when her affair fell apart, and you got caught before yours could. Jennifer was crying now, ugly sobs that made her sound like a broken child. "Please, Dave, call Michael. Tell him this was all a misunderstanding. Tell him the photos were fake or something. I'll lose everything." "Like I lost everything?" "You didn't lose everything. You got a fresh start, a chance to build a better life. After being humiliated, betrayed, and abandoned by the woman I loved, after having my friends tell me it was my fault for not being interesting enough. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said those things. I was wrong." Yes, you were. But sorry doesn't fix anything, does it? Sorry doesn't undo the damage. Sorry doesn't give me back 13 years of marriage or the trust I had in my wife. So this is revenge? You're destroying my family to get back at me for supporting Sarah? I'm giving you the same gift you gave me, Jen. The gift of truth. The gift of seeing your life clearly instead of living in denial. The gift of understanding what betrayal actually feels like. I have children, Dave. They're going to be destroyed by this. Sarah and I were trying to have children. We'd been talking about it for months before she decided I wasn't good enough to be the father of her kids. Your children will survive their parents' divorce. Mine never got the chance to exist. Please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. There's nothing to do, Jen. Your husband knows the truth now. What he does with it is between you and him. You're a monster. I'm a man who got tired of being told that his pain doesn't matter. I hung up and sat in my apartment, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Satisfaction. Not happiness exactly, but a sense that the universe had been rebalanced somehow. Jennifer had spent years looking down on me, treating me like I wasn't good enough for her sister, dismissing my feelings as unimportant. Now she knew what it felt like to have your life destroyed by someone else's choices. 2 days later, Sarah called. Dave, it's me. I heard about Jennifer and Michael. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Did you have something to do with it? I gave Michael some information he needed. What he did with it was his choice. Oh my God, you did this to get back at me. I did this to get back at Jennifer, for calling me vindictive, for telling me I should forgive a cheating wife while she was cheating on her own husband. She was trying to help us. She was trying to manipulate me into taking you back so she could feel better about her own affair. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. I can't believe you would do something so cruel. Cruel? I told the truth, Sarah. That's all. I didn't make Jennifer have an affair. I didn't make her lie to her husband. I just made sure he found out about it. You destroyed her family. She destroyed her family. I just documented it. This isn't you, Dave. You're not vindictive or cruel. You're good, decent, honest. I am honest. That's why I told Michael the truth about his wife. You know what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. You mean I'm supposed to be the nice guy who takes whatever people dish out and never fights back. The reliable one who forgives and forgets and pretends everything is fine. Well, I'm done being that guy. So what? You're going to destroy everyone who ever hurt you? I'm going to make sure people understand that actions have consequences, that you can't treat people like disposable objects and expect them to smile and take it. Is this what you want? To be someone who hurts people? I want to be someone who stands up for himself, someone who doesn't let people walk all over him in the name of being nice. I miss you, Sarah said suddenly. I miss the man you used to be. That man was a fool. He let his wife cheat on him for 3 months and then listened to her family and friends explain why it was his fault. That man was kind and forgiving and good. That man was weak. No, he was strong. Strong enough to love unconditionally, to put others before himself, to see the best in people even when they disappointed him. And where did that strength get him? It got him a wife who loved him, even when she was too stupid to appreciate him. Past tense. Present tense. I still love you, Dave. I'll always love you. Love wasn't enough to keep you faithful. It's not enough to bring me back. What would be enough? I thought about the question for a long time. What would be enough? An apology? Groveling? Revenge? Nothing felt like it would fill the hole that Sarah's betrayal had left in my life. Nothing, I said finally. There's nothing you could do or say that would make this right. Then why did you destroy Jennifer's marriage? If revenge doesn't make you feel better, why hurt innocent people? To make a point. What point? That actions have consequences, that you can't treat people like garbage and expect them to be grateful for it, that the nice guys don't always finish last. You finished last anyway, Dave. We're divorced. I'm alone. You're alone. Jennifer's family is destroyed. Nobody won. You're wrong, I said. I won. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself. I refused to be the victim. I fought back. And how does that feel? I considered the question honestly. How did it feel? Satisfying, empowering, hollow? It feels like justice, I said finally. It feels like revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. 3 weeks after Jennifer's world collapsed, I was working late at the shop when Sarah walked in. She looked different, thinner, older, worn down by months of guilt and regret. Her usual polished appearance had been replaced by jeans and a simple sweater, and her hair was pulled back in a ponytail that made her look like the girl I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. I didn't look up from the engine I was rebuilding. I thought we'd said everything there was to say. Not about us, about what you did to Jennifer. What about it? Michael filed for divorce. He's asking for full custody of the kids. He's claiming Jennifer is an unfit mother because of the affair. That's between them. She's my sister, Dave. Whatever you think of me, she doesn't deserve to lose her children. I finally looked up, wiping my hands on a rag. She should have thought about that before she started cheating. Like I should have thought about losing you before I cheated? Exactly. Sarah moved closer, her expression desperate. Dave, I know you're angry. I know you have every right to hate me, but please don't take it out on innocent people. Innocent people? Jennifer spent months telling me I was vindictive for not forgiving a cheating wife while she was cheating on her own husband. She called me cruel for refusing to take you back while she was destroying her own family. She's not innocent. Her children are. So were the children we never had because you decided I wasn't good enough to be their father. Sarah flinched as if I'd slapped her. That's not fair. None of this is fair. That's the point. What do you want from me? What would it take for you to call Michael, to tell him you made a mistake, that the photos were fake or taken out of context? I want you to understand what you did to me. I do understand. I hurt you, betrayed you, threw away the best thing in my life for a fantasy that turned out to be a nightmare. I understand that I was selfish and stupid and cruel. Do you? Or do you just understand that your choices had consequences you didn't expect? Both. I understand both. I set down my tools and really looked at her for the first time since she'd walked in. The confident, ambitious woman who'd left me for a richer man was gone, replaced by someone who looked broken and lost. Tell me about the consequences, Sarah. Tell me what you lost. Everything. I lost you. My marriage, my home. I lost the respect of my colleagues, the trust of my friends. I lost my sense of who I was, what I wanted, what mattered to me. What else? I lost my family. Jennifer blames me for what happened to her marriage because she thinks you destroyed it to get back at me. My parents won't speak to me because they're ashamed of what I did. I lost my reputation, my self-respect, my future. And how does that feel? Awful, empty, like I'm drowning in regret and there's no way to surface. Like you're disposable? Yes. Like you threw away something precious for something worthless? Yes. Like everyone you trusted turned out to be wrong about what you needed? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Yes. God, yes. Richard wasn't sophisticated or intellectually stimulating. He was a predator who told me what I wanted to hear so he could use me. Jennifer wasn't looking out for my best interests. She was projecting her own unhappiness onto my marriage. Our friends weren't trying to help us. They were uncomfortable with the mess and wanted it cleaned up quickly. And me? What was I? You were real. You were honest, loyal, dependable, kind. You loved me unconditionally, supported my dreams even when they didn't include you, put my happiness before your own. You were everything I should have wanted. But not everything you did want. I wanted excitement. I wanted to feel special, desired, important. I wanted someone who would sweep me off my feet and show me a different world. And I was just the reliable husband at home. You were my foundation, my safe place, my partner. But I took that for granted because it felt too easy, too comfortable. I thought love was supposed to be dramatic and passionate and overwhelming. Like it was with Richard. Richard wasn't love. Richard was infatuation, manipulation, a midlife crisis disguised as romance. What we had was love. Real, deep, lasting love. And I threw it away for a fantasy. I leaned against my workbench, studying this woman I'd once planned to grow old with. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that you were right. About everything. About me, about Richard, about what I was really looking for. I want you to know that losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. And you think that knowledge will make me feel better? I think that knowledge might make you feel like you don't need to keep hurting people to prove your point. My point being? That actions have consequences. That people can't treat others like garbage and expect to get away with it. You've made your point, Dave. Jennifer's life is destroyed. My life is destroyed. Everyone who supported my affair, who told you to forgive me, who made you feel like the villain. We've all paid the price. Have you? What do you mean? Have you really paid the price? Or are you just experiencing temporary consequences that you hope will go away if you say the right words? Sarah was quiet for a long moment, considering the question. I don't know. What would real consequences look like? Living with the knowledge that you destroyed something precious and can never get it back. understanding that some mistakes can't be fixed, some trust can't be rebuilt, some love can't be rekindled, accepting that you made choices that changed everything and there's no going back. Is that what you want? For me to live in permanent misery? I want you to live with the truth that you didn't just make a mistake, you revealed who you really are, someone who values excitement over loyalty, fantasy over reality, potential over substance, someone who's willing to destroy something real for something imaginary. That's not who I am. It's exactly who you are. The affair wasn't an aberration, Sarah. It was you showing your true colors when you thought you had a better option. People can change. Can they? Or do they just get better at hiding their true nature? I've changed. Losing you changed me. No, losing your backup plan changed you. If Richard had left his wife and married you, if your affair had worked out the way you planned, you'd never have given me another thought. Sarah started crying then, not the careful tears of someone trying to manipulate, but the ugly, broken sobs of someone who'd finally run out of ways to avoid the truth. You're right, she whispered. You're absolutely right. If Richard had chosen me, I would have convinced myself that leaving you was the best thing for both of us. I would have rewritten our history to make myself the hero of my own story. And now? Now I know that I'm the villain, that I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was selfish and greedy and stupid, that I hurt the one person who truly loved me because I wanted to feel special. And what do you want me to do with that knowledge? I want you to forgive me, not for my sake, but for yours. I want you to let go of the anger and the need for revenge so you can move on with your life. Forgiveness doesn't mean taking you back. I know. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm asking you to stop punishing innocent people because of what I did. Jennifer isn't innocent. Her children are. Michael is. Tyler is just a kid who got caught up in something he didn't understand. Tyler is a grown man who chose to sleep with a married woman. Tyler is a 28-year-old who was seduced by an older woman going through a midlife crisis, just like Richard seduced me. I considered this, the parallel between Tyler and Sarah, between Jennifer and Richard. So we're all just victims of circumstance? No, we're all responsible for our choices, but some of us are more responsible than others. Meaning? Meaning Jennifer and I were the married ones. We were the ones who made vows, who had something to lose, who should have known better. Tyler and Richard were just opportunists who took what was offered. So I should feel sorry for Tyler. You should feel sorry for Jennifer's kids, and for Michael, who's a good man who didn't deserve to be betrayed, and maybe even for Tyler, who's about to learn that actions have consequences when Jennifer's husband destroys his reputation and his coaching career. I hadn't thought about the wider implications of my revenge. In my focus on making Jennifer pay for her hypocrisy, I'd forgotten about the innocent bystanders who would be caught in the blast radius. It's too late, I said. The damage is done. Not all of it. You could call Michael, explain that you were angry and acted impulsively. You could tell him that while the affair happened, Jennifer loves her children and doesn't deserve to lose them. Why would I do that? Because you're not really a cruel person, Dave. You're a good man who got hurt and lashed out, but you don't want to be responsible for destroying a family. I'm not responsible. Jennifer is. You're both responsible. She created the situation, and you exposed it in the most damaging way possible. I thought about Michael Brennan, a man I barely knew who was probably sitting in his empty house right now, wondering how his life had fallen apart so completely. I thought about Jennifer's children, who would grow up in a broken home because their mother had been selfish and their father had been humiliated. What makes you think Michael would listen to me? Because you're the one person in this whole mess who doesn't have an agenda. You're not trying to save your marriage or protect your reputation. You're just a man who got caught in the crossfire of other people's bad choices. I created the crossfire. You revealed it. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Jennifer created the situation that destroyed her marriage. You just made sure her husband found out about it. If she hadn't been cheating, there would have been nothing to expose. I looked at Sarah, this woman who had once been my whole world, and felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. Not for her circumstances, but for the person she'd become. The confident, ambitious woman I'd married had been replaced by someone desperate and broken, someone who'd learned too late that she'd traded something real for something worthless. I'll think about it, I said finally. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I haven't decided anything. I know, but the fact that you're willing to consider it means you're still the man I fell in love with. No, I'm not. That man is gone. You killed him when you chose Richard over our marriage. Then who are you now? The line rang twice before someone picked up, and for a half-second I almost hoped it would go to voicemail so I could leave a message and avoid the weight of hearing a human voice react to my name. Dr. Brennan, a calm voice answered, professional, guarded. This is Dave McAllister, I said. My throat felt tight, like the words had to squeeze past something lodged there. I think we need to talk. There was a pause, long enough for me to hear the faint background noise on his end, paper shuffling, a chair moving, the muted hum of an office. He didn't sound surprised. He sounded like a man who had been waiting for the call, rehearsing how to breathe through it. Dave, he said carefully. Yes, we do. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the stained concrete floor of my shop. The overhead lights buzzed softly. The smell of oil and metal filled the air, familiar and steady. I gripped the phone tighter than I needed to, like it was a tool I didn't quite trust. I'm not calling to scream at you, I said. I'm not calling to threaten you. I'm calling because I'm tired of conversations happening behind my back. Another pause. Then, I understand. You're going to tell me the truth, I continued, voice flat. Not your version. Not the version that protects Sarah. Not the version that protects you. The truth. His inhale was audible. Okay. I waited, letting the silence pressure him instead of filling it for him. That was something I'd learned in the last year. The person who talks first usually bleeds first. It started as a mistake, he said, and I felt my jaw tighten immediately at the phrasing, like the word itself was an excuse wrapped in satin. He must have heard something shift in my breathing because he corrected himself. No, that's not fair. It started as a choice, a series of choices. I didn't say anything. I just listened. She came to see me professionally, he said, and his voice grew even more careful. For a while, I maintained boundaries. I told myself it was simple. But she was unhappy, and she made me feel important, needed. I know how pathetic that sounds. It sounds like a man trying to make it romantic, I said. He swallowed. You're right. It wasn't romance. It was selfishness. I stared at the workbench in front of me. A half-disassembled carburetor lay there like a puzzle. I thought about how often I'd rebuilt things that came in broken, piece by piece, patient and methodical. How I'd always believed people could be fixed the same way if you just applied enough care. When did it actually begin? I asked. He hesitated. A few months before you found out. Define begin, I said, because people like you love soft definitions. Another breath. Emotional before it was physical. There it was. Not all the way, maybe, but closer. And how long did it go on after I confronted her? I asked. This time the pause was shorter, as if he'd already decided he wasn't going to dodge it. It didn't stop immediately. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. I felt strangely calm. The anger had burned so hot for so long that it had either burned itself out or turned into something colder, something that didn't need to lash out to feel powerful. Did you ever plan to tell me? I asked. No, he admitted. And that's the truth. I didn't. I told myself it would fade, that she would handle it, that it was her marriage, not mine. I let out a slow exhale. And you call yourself a doctor. He didn't argue. I know. For a moment, neither of us spoke. In the quiet, I heard the faint tick of the shop's wall clock, steady like a heartbeat. It reminded me of a line I'd once read somewhere. Time doesn't heal anything, it just gives you room to decide what you're going to do with the pain. I'm not calling you because I want revenge, I said finally. I already did that part. I'm calling you because I want closure that doesn't depend on Sarah's version of events. I want to know what happened so I can stop waking up at 3 a.m. with my mind inventing worse things than reality. I understand, he said again, and this time it sounded less like a reflex and more like a man actually hearing me. Here's the thing, I continued. I forgive her. I forgive you too, in a way. Not because you deserve it, but because I'm done letting you take up space in my body. But forgiveness doesn't erase accountability. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. It was a fair question, and I realized, sitting there with grease under my nails, that I didn't want a grand gesture. I didn't want him to suffer publicly. I didn't need his apology to be poetic. I want you to be honest, I said. If anyone asks you why my marriage ended, you tell the truth. You don't hint that I was cold. You don't imply Sarah was lonely. You don't paint yourself as a man who got seduced by a tragedy. You tell them you crossed a line and you helped destroy a family. He was silent. Then, I can do that. And if I ever hear that you're spinning it differently, I added, voice still calm, I'll stop being quiet. I've been quiet for too long. I'm not afraid of being the bad guy in someone else's story anymore. I won't, he said quickly. I won't twist it. I sat back, feeling the tension in my shoulders ease a little. Not relief, exactly, but a loosening, like a knot finally admitting it could come undone. One more thing, I said. Yes? Why did you keep seeing her? I asked. Not the flattering answer, the real answer. He hesitated, then spoke softer. Because it made me feel powerful, and because stopping would have meant admitting I was wrong. I closed my eyes for a second, absorbing that brutal simplicity. People didn't do terrible things because they were complicated. They did them because they wanted to, and because they could. Okay, I said. That's all I needed. Dave, he said, and his voice shifted, almost pleading, I am sorry. I know, I replied, and I meant it the same way I'd meant it to Sarah. Not as comfort, as acknowledgement. We ended the call. I set my phone on the workbench and stared at it for a long moment, like it might ring again with another ghost from my past. Then I stood up, walked over to the sink in the corner of the shop, and washed my hands slowly. The water ran dark at first, carrying grease and metal dust into the drain. I watched it swirl away, and something about that simple motion felt symbolic without being cheesy. When my hands were clean, I dried them, took a breath, and looked around at my shop again. Tools hung in their places, machines waited patiently. Nothing here cared about my ego, nothing here lied. But I realized, as I turned off the light and headed toward the office door, that I didn't want to hide in predictability forever. Engines were safe because they didn't have choices. People were dangerous because they did. And maybe strength wasn't about avoiding people. Maybe it was about facing them, telling the truth, and still choosing not to become the worst version of yourself. I locked up, stepped back into the night air, and felt something settle in my chest. Not vengeance, not forgiveness, something quieter. A direction. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday, addressed in Jennifer's careful handwriting. I stared at it for a long moment before opening it, wondering what fresh drama was about to unfold. Jennifer Brennan and Tyler Morrison request the pleasure of your company? I had to laugh. After everything that had happened, after the divorce and the custody battle and the public humiliation, Jennifer had ended up with Tyler after all. Apparently true love had conquered all, or at least outlasted the scandal. My phone rang as I was reading the details. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Did you get it too? She asked without preamble. The invitation? Yeah, just opened it. I can't believe she's actually marrying him. Why not? They're both single now. Because he's 15 years younger than her, and he lost his job because of their affair. People have overcome bigger obstacles. You sound different. Different how? Less angry, more, I don't know, peaceful? She was right. Somewhere over the past 2 years, the rage that had consumed me after our divorce had faded into something more manageable. Not forgiveness, exactly, but acceptance. An understanding that people made choices, those choices had consequences, and life went on regardless. I am peaceful, I said. It's amazing what happens when you stop trying to control things you can't control. Like what? Like other people's decisions, like whether they appreciate what they have, like whether they learn from their mistakes. Have I learned from mine? It was a question she'd asked me several times over the past 2 years, usually when she was feeling particularly low or nostalgic. I'd always deflected it before, not wanting to give her false hope or reopen old wounds. Have you? I asked. I think so. I hope so. I know I'm not the same person I was when I left you. None of us are. Are you happy, Dave? I considered the question. Was I happy? I had a successful business, a comfortable life, good friends. I'd been dating a woman named Carol for 6 months, a divorced teacher who appreciated simple pleasures and didn't need me to be anything other than who I was. It wasn't the passionate, all-consuming love I'd had with Sarah, but it was real and honest and built on mutual respect. Yeah, I said. I think I am. Good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. Do I? After everything I did? Everyone deserves a chance at happiness, Sarah. Even people who make terrible mistakes. Even people who destroy their marriages for a fantasy. Even them. She was quiet for a moment. I saw you at the grocery store last week, with that woman, Carol. You looked content. I am content. She seems nice. She is nice. She's also loyal, honest, and she appreciates what she has instead of always looking for something better. Unlike me. Unlike the person you were then, I don't know who you are now. I'm someone who learned that contentment is more valuable than excitement, that loyalty matters more than passion, that real love is about building something together, not about how someone makes you feel. Those are good lessons. Expensive ones. The best lessons usually are. Dave, I want you to know that I'm glad you're happy, even if it's not with me, even if I'm the reason we can't be together. I'm glad you found someone who appreciates you. Thank you. And I want you to know that I understand now why you couldn't take me back. It wasn't about punishment or revenge. It was about self-respect. It was about knowing the difference between love and desperation. I was desperate, wasn't I? You were scared. There's a difference. Is there? Desperation is about wanting something you can't have. Fear is about losing something you value. You were afraid of being alone, of facing the consequences of your choices, of admitting that you'd made a mistake. That's not the same as wanting me back. I did want you back. You wanted your old life back. The security, the comfort, the knowledge that someone loved you unconditionally. You didn't want me specifically. You wanted what I represented. Maybe you're right. Maybe I didn't know the difference. Do you know it now? I think so. I think I've learned to be alone without being desperate, to face consequences without looking for someone to rescue me, to admit mistakes without expecting forgiveness. That's growth. It's survival. I looked at the wedding invitation again, at Jennifer's name paired with Tyler's, and felt something I hadn't expected. Hope, not for Sarah and me, that ship had sailed and sunk long ago, but hope that people could change, that they could learn from their mistakes, that they could build something real out of the wreckage of their bad choices. Are you going to the wedding? Sarah asked. I don't know. Are you? I wasn't planning to. It feels too weird, celebrating Jennifer's happiness when I'm the reason her first marriage fell apart. You're not the reason her first marriage fell apart. Her affair is the reason her first marriage fell apart. If I hadn't cheated first, if you hadn't been hurt and angry, you never would have exposed her. If she hadn't been cheating, there would have been nothing to expose. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found out about my affair? If I just ended it quietly and never told you? No. Why not? Because that's not what happened. You can't build a life on hypotheticals. I suppose not. Sarah, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Richard had left his wife for you? She was quiet for a long time. Yes, I used to wonder that all the time. And I think I would have been miserable, not right away, but eventually. Because I would have known that our relationship was built on betrayal, that he was capable of abandoning someone he'd made promises to, that I was capable of destroying something good for something that felt exciting. You think you would have left him? I think he would have left me for someone younger, more exciting, less complicated, someone who didn't remind him of his capacity for betrayal. Maybe. Definitely. Richard wasn't looking for love, Dave. He was looking for conquest. I was just another married woman he could seduce and discard. And Tyler, what's he looking for? I don't know. Jennifer, I guess. He fought for her, stood by her through the divorce, helped her rebuild her life. Maybe he really loves her. Or maybe he's young and doesn't know any better. Maybe. But they're both adults now, both single, both choosing each other with full knowledge of what they're getting into. That's more than Richard and I had. That's more than you and I had toward the end. What do you mean? I mean, we weren't really choosing each other anymore. We were just going through the motions, staying together out of habit rather than desire. Maybe the affair was just your way of forcing a decision that neither of us was brave enough to make. You think we would have gotten divorced anyway? I think we were headed in that direction. We'd grown apart, wanted different things, become different people. The affair just accelerated the inevitable. Do you really believe that? I don't know, but it makes it easier to accept what happened. Dave, I need to tell you something. What? I'm seeing someone, a therapist, but also someone, a man. Good for you. His name is Paul. He's a teacher at the community college. Divorced, 2 kids, very normal and boring and kind. Sounds perfect for you. He is. He's nothing like Richard, nothing like the fantasy I was chasing. He's real and honest, and he makes me laugh. He also knows about my affair, about our divorce, about all of it. And he chose me anyway. How does that feel? Scary, like I don't deserve it, like I'm going to mess it up somehow. Maybe you won't. Maybe I won't. I'm trying to be different this time. To appreciate what I have instead of looking for what I don't have. To be grateful instead of greedy. That's all any of us can do. Dave, thank you. For what? For not taking me back. For forcing me to face the consequences of my choices. For making me learn to be alone before I tried to be with someone else. You're welcome. And thank you for calling Michael. For helping Jennifer keep her kids. For showing mercy when you could have chosen revenge. I didn't do it for Jennifer. I know. You did it because it was the right thing to do. Because you're a good man who got hurt and lashed out but ultimately chose to be better than your pain. I'm not sure about that. I am, and I'm grateful that I got to love you, even if I was too stupid to appreciate it at the time. I'm grateful too. Really? Really. You taught me things about myself I never would have learned otherwise. About strength, about self-respect, about the difference between being nice and being weak. I taught you that by betraying you. You taught me that by showing me what I wouldn't accept, what I wouldn't tolerate, what I was worth. What are you worth, Dave? More than I thought. More than you thought, too. Much more. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment, looking at Jennifer's wedding invitation and thinking about the strange turns life takes. 2 years ago, I'd been a bitter, angry man bent on revenge. Now I was someone who could wish his ex-wife well, who could find peace in the knowledge that people could change and grow and learn from their mistakes. I picked up my phone and called Carol. "Hey," she said, her voice warm and familiar. "How was your day?" "Interesting. I got a wedding invitation from my ex-sister-in-law." "The one whose affair you exposed?" "That's the one. She's marrying the guy she was cheating with." "Wow. How do you feel about that?" "Happy for them, I think. They went through hell to be together. If they can make it work, more power to them." "Are you going to go?" "I don't know. What do you think?" "I think you should do whatever feels right to you, but if you want my opinion, I think it would show a lot of class to go and wish them well." "You want to be my date to my ex-sister-in-law's wedding to the man she was cheating with?" Carol laughed. "When you put it like that, it sounds like the plot of a soap opera." "My life has been a soap opera for the past 2 years. And now? Now it's a quiet drama, much more peaceful." "I like quiet dramas." "I know you do. That's one of the things I love about you." "One of the things?" "One of many things." "Tell me another one." "You never make me feel like I'm not enough." "Because you are enough, Dave. You're more than enough." "So are you." "I love you too." After we hung up, I looked at the wedding invitation one more time, then set it on my kitchen table next to a photo of Carol and me at the county fair last month. We looked happy in the picture, relaxed and comfortable with each other. Not passionate or dramatic or overwhelming, just content. Content was good, content was enough. I picked up a pen and checked the box marked "Will attend" on Jennifer's invitation. It was time to celebrate new beginnings, to acknowledge that people could change, that love could triumph over scandal, that happiness was possible even after terrible mistakes. It was time to let go of the past completely and embrace whatever came next.